We thought that we would talk about our relationship, just a little bit about how we work as artists, and also about the commission that we've done and how it links into our broader practice.
And a lot of the time we're making works that we show in galleries and sometimes in museums, so it's really great when we were approached by National Media Museum to consider the notion of net neutrality, which I can tell you wasn't the easiest thing to think about, making an artwork about. But because a lot of what we do as artists is very much about looking at what's out there amidst global communication systems and the fact that everything is accessible. When we make artworks, quite often what we do is bring a lot of existing material together and kind of try and make poetic or meaningful visualizations of that. So if you look on the screen now, you can see a very simple work that we have that you can view online. It's not usually shown in galleries, called Weather Gauge, and it's just showing us weather information from around the world, from about 150 countries, but it's kind of rendered as a hypnotic perhaps or decorative kind of animation.
And what we like about it is it's a very gentle work, but it's gently political, because what we've kind of discovered just by looking at data feeds, that if there is a war, or if there is a hurricane, or if there's a disaster that happens, the weather information falls down and you get this error. And it just allows us to look at the world, you know, this is a visualization of the world, but in a different way, and to find information out in a different way.
And in a way, what you're doing is seeing kind of a visualization of the whole world just on one screen, albeit in a very restricted way. And that's in a way why we've been using a lot of web cameras in our work as well. I'm moving on.
And it's a crazy clock. And I think that we have, over the last few years, been making a lot of clocks. We call them useless clocks, because you don't actually tell an accurate time for them. They don't have the function in the same way, but they still are clocks. And we find it really interesting that the internet gives us this opportunity to be able to see the world, and to see the whole world, but in a very, very different way to how we're used to thinking about seeing the world. And I think we were keen to show you this because it's using a very similar technique, and it's called Tim Berners-Lee.
A live portrait of Tim Berners-Lee, an early warning system.
Absolutely.
And it follows on in a way from Horizon, except rather than visualizing the whole planet in the way we do in Horizon, we just take two cameras at a time on opposite sides of the world, and we use the dark, the day and night of the position of the camera as a way of making a drawing. So the drawing on the left of Tim Berners-Lee is a pixelated image of him, and it's comprised out of those two cameras. So again, in that slow, real time that we all occupy, this work will invert every 12 hours from black and white to black will become white and white will become black, well, roughly. And also on the right-hand side, you get that window into those places. So in this case, what's upstairs at the moment, at the top is Nuremberg Airport, and at the bottom right is a beach resort in New Zealand, which I think is Sumner, but I'm not sure. I can't quite remember off the top of my head.
I mean, we collect webcams all the time, and so we spent a lot of time looking for web cameras that go very, very dark during the day in gallery opening hours. So it's quite specific when we're looking. And I guess we should talk a little bit about who Tim Berners-Lee is as well. Yes,
Tim Berners-Lee is widely regarded as the kind of grandfather of the World Wide Web. So we felt it was rather appropriate to make a portrait of him out of live network information. And the reason it's called an early warning system is because these openly accessible cameras will cease to be openly accessible as the net becomes less neutral. So in a way, we're trying to offer this image up as something which is monitoring the situation. And when it switches off, the chances are we'll be paying for a bandwidth. And it was a real pleasure for us to work on this, actually, because it's something we've wanted to do for a long time, to begin to develop ways of drawing with live information.
And I think as artists, we have always been, at the heart of our practice has always been, although we work with video and we work with data, it's always been about how can we draw with these. If this is our material that we work with, how do you draw with data? And for us, I think we're very pleased to have the opportunity to be able to achieve this through working on this portrait.